That's what this is really supposed to be about. Every workshop, panel, keynote should be geared towards that thing in mind. And we have been tasked with creating that tissue for that thing. You're looking at expanding possibilities. But this is the finished product. So what I hope I do, to the best of my ability, is dive into these stories to show what we can do a little differently, streamline, scale from their experience. This question is for everybody. And I'll just go from my right to left counterpart. Share with them exactly what it felt like in that moment when you got sentenced, compared to what it means to be on this stage today. And what you, Joseph?
Pretty hopeless.
Can you hear me?
Looking like it's on, it's over. Yeah. I was pretty hopeless. I've never been in prison. I had several run-ins with the law. Prisons. It's a not even really different between now and then.
I remember the day I got sentenced. I felt pretty devastated. I felt I just remember feeling like my life was over. And thinking about that day and then sitting in front of the stage, I was just like, God, I'm so blessed. And I'm just honored to be here, to be able to have this.
The day I was sentenced, like I said, I was pretty hopeless. I got more time than what I thought I was going to get. The way that the sentencing guidelines work, I thought that I was supposed to be in a level 2, and I was sentenced at a level 4, which gave me basically an extra year in prison. I missed my oldest son's funeral. My grandmother, he passed away. I miss that too. My dad had a lot of health problems. And so I was pretty certain, and I was actually right that I would miss his funeral and his death too. So yeah, it was horrible. I missed so much of their lives because of my addiction, and then I was going to miss their death too. And it just felt like the lowest of low. But now I'm sitting here, these are tears of joy because I've come so far. And I have such great support system. And I'm so happy that I know they're looking down on me and they're smiling. And I'm just beginning. This is just the beginning step for me. I got a long way to go. And with God, I'm getting there every day.
The day I got sentenced. I went to trial, so I got found guilty by a jury. So there's probably in Louisiana maybe a 3-4 month period in between when you're getting found guilty and getting sentenced. I knew I was going to be a habitual offender. My max was 100 years. But when I get to court, my attorney comes in and he says, "Hey," he said, "Man, they're going to file a bill on me for a life sentence." And I'm like, "A life sentence?" I'm like, you have to wrap your mind around, like I already knew I probably going to get maxed out at 100 years. And then I'm like, my knees were really, really shaky because I'm like, man, now I'm going to a life sentence, but in that, I remember that my sister and my auntie, that they were coming. My mom had passed probably about 3 years before. And so when they came into court, I had to steel myself, because if I wasn't steeled, then I know they were gonna lose it. So I told my sister, I said, "Look," I said, "you're gonna hear something." and I said, but it's not gonna be true. I said, don't start crying, because my sister's a bad crier. She just cried at any little thing. So I said, don't start crying. I said, it's gonna work out. It's not gonna happen, because actually I researched the law and knew that they actually could give me the life sentence. So when we went through it, and I didn't get it, so, you know, I was kind of smiling, and she was like, why are you smiling? I'm like, I get a life sentence, that's all, you know? But the realization came, I had a high profile case, was when I came back and you come in the dorm and everybody's looking at you with like shock, like, and they're kind of scared of you. I've been around you for a long time, and everybody's looking at you, and they said, look at the TV, look at it. So you see, you you got 100 years, and it's on the evening news, scrolling out, and I had to go and lay down in the bunk and kind of, I guess, getting used to having a new normal, and process, because before it wasn't a reality. You know, like, you go to trial, but now it is a reality that there's a possibility. They give you these kind of sentences because they never want you back in society again. And you start thinking that this might be just, you know, the end of the road, like whatever. So it's tough. It's mentally, it's like you're sweating bullets, you know. And but on the outside, you're trying to smile and really be strong. Because I was a Christian then, and trying to be strong, because there were a lot of other guys also that were facing what I was facing, and just trying to be strong, you know.
And real quick, that paradigm between those emotions, that level of confusion compared to being.
Oh man, here today, so it's funny. I was sitting over there, and so when you start saying take a deep breath, so I do pulpit supply, and I preach probably 3-4 times out of the month, and it's like, I'm always nervous, I always that godly nervousness, but there is, you know, it's like all the years that you did in prison and all the things that you've done, and then you come here to be able to share. So on the outside, it always looks good, but people really don't know your struggle. And being here is like, man, I finally get to tell somebody about what this stuff is really like. And you know, it's been a hard, really hard journey.
So now I'm gonna ask some individual questions, if you'll allow me to. Ms. Hackett. First and foremost, we were never tired of expressing our condolences for the level of loss that you have experienced. So we offer those to you now. And so it's something about a woman being in prison that just seems unnatural. It's not that a male's life is worth more than a woman's, or that any kind of chauvinistic undertone. It just seems unnatural. And as Salute First, we believe that crime is a form of expression that very few people take the time to listen to and interpret. Sometimes we're in so much of awe or shock at what took place, but that's a form of expression taking place. And so what I would like to ask you is, what were you trying to express? What were you looking for that misguided you down darker paths? And then even more importantly, what was that thing that you found and were able to hold on to that allowed you to experience that season of redemption that we see with you today?
I think that I was trying to find myself. I think when you're a young female, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, you feel defined by your sexuality, your relationship with a man. And I think I looked for that so much. And like I said, I had the abusive relationship for about 8 years. It took me a long time to be strong enough to leave that relationship. And so I think I was trying to find myself again, because I had been beat down so much, I didn't know who I was. And trying to find who I was. But when I got arrested, when I was incarcerated, I had been a Christian. I had believed in God and Jesus before I got arrested. But when I really got to spend that time with Him, you know, on a personal level, and gave my life to him, and really gave my life to him, I found myself for the first time in a long time. And, so now I'm so grounded in that, and who I am to the core, that, you know, I'm unshakable at this point. I know my tears don't really show that, a little shaken up, but, yeah, God has given me that, and I'm so thankful for that.
Now let your tears flow. Anybody know my wife? She a crybaby. Sad moment, happy moment, joyous moment, she's crying. You know what I mean? So thank you for sharing that, because again, there's always two sides to the paradigm in this work that we do in the prisons, and y'all know the data more than us. This influx of women going into prisons is astonishing. But we don't look at that so alarmingly as we do what put them on that path. Because as Luke, we always say that most of the people, including all of us up here, were already mentally, emotionally, psychologically incarcerated before we ever got sentenced in the first place. The sentencing is just a byproduct. And I like to get down to the heart of the matter. And I think that's where we also have opportunities to create more impact and expand the possibilities. So, Mr. Wiley, I'm gonna get you to talk. First, let's give this man a salute for having a 4.0.
Yes.
So I woke up at about 3 o'clock this morning. I got some bad sleeping habits, man. I got sleep apnea. I don't want to wear the CPAP. I'm attracted to my wife. I'm trying to stay cute for my wife. My daughter wakes up in the middle of the night and comes down to the bed. She thinks anything that belongs to us is a toy. She might kill me accidentally. It could happen. Right. So I pop up at 3 o'clock this morning, and if me and my wife out of town, I always text out, good morning, Queen, just know I love you. Today we got it, right? And I normally go back to sleep, but I couldn't go back to sleep, so I'm really spending time with these bios. And so, Mr. Wiley, I had an interesting question I wanted to ask you, if you allow me. I want to take a moment and take advantage of your remarkable story as it relates to mental health. And I want to do that because you have a unique and beautiful, like a dichotomy of sorts, because you suffer with bouts of mental health and yet you stay in a position of a 4.0 in psychology. Help us better understand what mental health truly is from both a lived and studied experience and the courageous steps that you took to voluntarily seek that hope. Because there's a lot of men in here, including myself, who run and try to escape mental health issues. It's a very taboo conversation. But you having lived through it, lived with it, and also are studying it, I think you can provide some information that maybe we take for granted or overlook.
Well, I've probably suffered from mental health concerns most of my life. But, back years ago, it was kind of stigmatized. I didn't realize what I was doing with substances was basically self-medicating. When you're your own doctor, like this, all my crimes were committed because of a direct result of my substance abuse. I was raised in a good family. I had no excuses for doing the things I did. And, I'm shunned by my family because of it. Because my mother's in the nursing field, but she didn't really have an understanding of mental health. They suggested that I had ADHD in school, that I was getting in trouble. And they were just starting to realize what that was. She was against medication, so I kind of carried that over as well because I'd gotten clean before and worked with a psychologist from VR, and they suggested medication. And I was like, no, I'm good. And that didn't work out for me. So I think psychology is really interesting to me. Probably trying to figure out what's wrong with myself. But I ended up finding out about peer support in Dan River. They got really good programs there with college classes. Guilford College comes there. I didn't know what peer support was. Chap used to come there, Dr. Son, Miss Gordon. She's really good about making sure we had classes to take. finally got some hope from that, really. And I could get peer support. When I got out, VR helped me get my peer support certification. And it sponsored an internship with Care Work, which is our clients have severe and persistent mental illness. A lot of them have justice involvement as well. The employment department there started giving me some hours for that, and they hired me full-time as an employment specialist.
I'm gonna tell you what I like about Joseph's journey is I'm radical enough to believe that the disease contains the cure. See, it's a loop. We say we have no desire to destruct criminogenic behaviors. We need to reconstruct, right? Just like my last charge in 2007 was facing a trafficking charge. Not possession with intent. I was facing a trafficking charge. Several years later, I'm running a multi-million-dollar logistics company. Moving packages is just moving packages. I'm literally running a multi-million-dollar trucking company, and I don't know anything about pistons, horsepower. I can't change the oil on the car. I can change the tire. I'm probably gonna call AAA though. My point is, in a disease is where we're gonna find a cure. It's no different than a flu shot. What are they giving you? A cure? No, they're giving you the freaking flu. So that your body can develop those antibodies. That's why we have to look at crime differently as a form of expression. It's a cry out. Yes, it's some disturbing things that we encounter, but there's also some more traumatic things they encountered prior to. So here we are where the disease is now containing the cure. The very thing that plagued him, held him back, disrupted his life, is now the very same thing that's being the catalyst to not just his healing, but the healing of others, right? You mentioned something about a chap, so, Artie. I would like to do it this way if you allow me to. A lot of us are probably curious of how a brother that's inside, because I do a lot of classes in the prison. We got some chaplains that really help us out. I know everybody's intrigued to better understand how you became to the, rose to the position of a chaplain while still being an inmate, and I want to get to that. But what I want to ask you right now is more so, what was that critical point analysis point in your sin? You're facing 100 years, and like Adam alluded to earlier, some would justify that's a reason to wild out, thug out, throw in the towel, become a savage, click up, whatever the case may be. And I'm pretty sure all of that energy was around you, but you made a conscious decision that you were going to take the faith approach, which is not always celebrated, can sometimes be seen as a sense of weakness or escape, but you proved it different. What was the catalyst that pushed you in that direction of being bold in your faith and pursuing seminary? What exactly was that?
So I got arrested in Dallas County for possession with intent to distribute, prior to being extradited to Louisiana. And at this point, I've been running the streets for probably about 15 years. And actually my heart was, I guess a good thing to say, I became callous. So people really didn't matter. And at the time I was an extremely violent person. And I had a fight with two guys, and I wound up in the hole for 14 days. And while I was in the hole, for some odd reason, I started reading the Bible. And there was this volunteer that came by. I didn't have a Bible, but he came by every day. And I had an idea about Christians. I didn't like Christians. I thought that Christianity and all that stuff was really for weak people. Like, you just weak, you can't handle your problem, And so when he was coming by, he was talking to me every day. And I started reading the Bible, so I had a picture. I had a girlfriend at the time, and the picture was on the wall, and that's all he kept asking me about was the picture. I'm like, man, another fake Christian, man, get out of my face. And so, but he did give me a Bible, and I started dreaming. And this was one day, I'm in this cell. There's a shower in the cell, and I kept dreaming Romans 8 and 9, and I got up, and I didn't know what it meant, so I got up this one day, and I was walking back and forth up and down the cell, And because I kept having the same recurring dream, and I just see the Bible. And I said, Lord, what does this mean? And it was like, man, like this towel pop. I played sports all through high school, and probably guys know when you're in the locker room and everybody run around, they popping towel, like pow, just playing. And it was like the loudest pop that I ever heard in my life. And like the room got really bright, and I fell to my knees. And I just heard the Lord just say, it's time. And man. So from that point on, and just give me a minute. So from that point, I didn't know anything about the Bible. So I thought that I was really tripping. You know, I was on the street running, getting loaded, all of this. So I'm thinking that I'm tripping. I'm losing my mind. You know, this can't be real. So the day that I got out the hole, I said, I prayed. I was about to leave out, and I came back and I got on my knees on the side of the bunk. I said, Lord, I said, now if you really, really real, I said, what you'll do is you'll put me around somebody that can teach me this Bible. So I got up to leave. So I said, Lord, now if you're really, really real, there was this guy playing basketball in Dallas County on the roof, and this guy came up talking about an 8-man cell where there's only 8 people in the dorm and you have a 1-man cell. So I said, if you're really, really real, you'll put me in an 8-man cell. And I said, I'll follow you for the rest of my life. So I go, I pass it. So we were on the elevator to meet another guy. So I think he told me that the guy asked, so where are we going? And I thought he told me I was going to a 24-man unit. I was like, I know this stuff was vague. You know? So I go in this, we pass there and go around, and he goes in. And so he takes me to the 8-man cell. And so I put my stuff down and I come out because this is my duty. So I want to tell this guy, like, hey man, you'll never believe what happened to me. And this guy, I never even noticed that he was sitting there, he was reading the Bible. So afterward, he said, man, you know what? He said, man, he said, I am a Methodist minister. And he said, I've been falsely accused and I'm in prison. Hold on. So it's and from that point, it was a rough. I had a couple fights along the way. Still had bad attitude, but that was actually the turning point. And I told God that, and everybody I told is like unbelievable. And from that point, I started going back to a lot of other things that happened along my journey that people tell you, God got a calling on your life, God got this for you. And I had, like I said, I always thought that it was fake. I thought everybody that I saw that was in Christianity, their life was in shambles, and you know, they're smiling. I thought they had fake smiles. I'm like, this can't be real. And I started finding out that it was real. And I kept to that profession when I got down on my knees and I told the Lord, I'll follow you for the rest of my life. And that's what I've been trying to do. Maybe not in perfection, but and the hard part, so a lot of people that knew me from the streets and what type of person I was. Like I said, I fight with people, very, very violent. And man, just anybody, men, women, children, sadly to say, that I became somebody that my mama didn't know, that nobody that I grew up around, because you have to change in order to live in the streets and not become the person that you were in your mama house. So, but a lot of people knew, so then I'm 6'7", you know, even though I was skinny back then, but I'm 6'7". A lot of times in prison, if you're real big, people will try you, but they're gonna kind of stay away. But a lot of people that knew me were watching, and after a while, they were like, real about this Christianity stuff? I'm like, yeah, I'm really real about it. Something really happened in my life. And
Hold on, don't get into my name. No, I'm gonna let you steal my shot.
all right.
No. Because I specifically want you to unpack that because it ties into their workplace environment.
Okay.
So I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but you braced up on my toes. I ain't 6'7", but you know what I'm saying. And I love that piece, because again, wherever I go, man, I don't push faith. I just know nothing else could get to me. I was as faithful towards God as my bond. I would get locked up. God, I'll never do this again. You get me out of this situation, and I'll make bond. So my faith was based on my bond. That wasn't the punchline. I'm saying, and then I got locked up by the state, on the trafficking charge where I couldn't bond out, and I had to face God for real. And he opened himself up to me for real, and that's when I started to look at the scriptures for real, and I was like, hold on. Like you, I've been thinking this stuff fake, but the whole book is about re-entry. At the end of the day, Paul was a serial killer. David was a goon. I started to realize that I'm not disqualified. My mistakes actually what qualify me. And why that's of value is because when we start talking about expanding the possibilities, I think the first step is remembering the meaning. I wanted to make sure, and we'll continue as we move forward, that we bring back the meaning and the humanitarian aspect of these stories, because I know I've been in your jacket before. I've been in your vanilla folder before. And when you see vanilla folder after vanilla folder, when you see recidivism after recidivism, when you see, story after story, you start to see us as numbers. It's the nature of the beast. We're not at fault, you're not at fault. It's the system. We all get programmed, but when you first signed up for this, you wanted to create change. I wanted to do something different. There was something that provoked your why. There was meaning. And over time, that meaning gets taken away. So we can't expand a single damn possibility until we get back to a place of remembering why we did this. And that means realizing that there's suffering, that there's children, that there's potential, that there are challenges, that there are things attached inside of that vanilla folder. Forget it. Oh, you thought I want to come to you? Such a natural born leader, looking at your body up. You clearly have a natural gift and aptitude for leadership, team building, effective execution of strategic initiatives. Your accolades speak boldly for themselves, and I also see the residue of a perpetual student where there really is no destination of knowledge inside. My question to you, sitting up at about 4:15, is one, well, no coffee available downstairs, and they charging $8 for a water in my room. Talk to you about that. It was my fault. Yeah. There go right there, right? I ain't gonna lie to you. My question is, with a natural gift, a high level of intelligence, what did prison provide you as far as an opportunity to reintroduce you to you that was not available outside those walls? Because something in your journey through those walls sparked something great in you that clearly you had not been introduced to it prior to. Help us understand that.
Absolutely, yes. I'm glad you asked me that. I came from a Christian background too. I was raised in church, and so I knew about the Lord, but I didn't always follow his ways, right? I got concerned. So when I was incarcerated, when I was in the county jail, and they told me that I was going to sign my plea for a 10-year plea, and I signed the plea, and then when I got back to the cells, I started freaking out. Like, it's a decade. My kids are 5 and 7. When I come home, they're gonna be 17 and 15. I'm freaking out in my brain. And so I try to get to the cell, to the SED, thinking that was gonna block me from going to court the next day so I didn't have to go face the judge. And so while I'm acting out of my cell, the guards, they know that this was out of my character to do so. So one of them took me in to see a sergeant. Her name was Sergeant Gary. And I'll never forget, because she is the one who sowed the seed into my spirit. And she sat me down, she said, look at here, you're going to do this time. Ain't no way around it. You're going to do this 10 years. She was like, but the same way you feel like they're taking from you, you go take from them. She was like, you go in there and you go take all the programs, all the classes, everything that you can take, so that you make sure that when you leave, you come out better than you came in. And I took it and ran with it. And so when I got to prison, I think they tried to put me in the dining hall, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Anyway, so I was able to go into horticulture, and it just was like one opportunity open after another. I feel like God was with me my whole journey, and so when I finally did make it to work release, I went through a program called Job Start, which also transferred my thinking, my mind, and let me see myself and my self-worth and who I really was, whose I was, and that helped me get my work release job, which I got in with the Office of the Governor, and done that, and now I'm a state employee in that office. Yeah, so what was the other? But yeah, that is really what sparked the leadership in me. It probably has always been in me. I just didn't know how to cultivate that. And it was people all along. Like I spoke about a program, which was the Tita Club, that was formed by some staff members to put on shows within the prison. And I started out as the secretary, and in 6 months I was the president, and I held that position for 2 years. And so that helped me work on public speaking and just leadership, and those skills in prison helped me to be where I am today.
I believe that the greatest leaders, give them their flowers, man. Let them catch that bouquet. The greatest leaders, the greatest visionaries are going to be birthed through the greatest trauma. One of my favorite scriptures says, "As gold is tried in the fire, so are acceptable men in the as gold is tried in the fire, so are acceptable men in the furnace of adversity." It's just the way that it rocks. So I'm gonna tell you what's called an unnecessary break right now. I want you to think of the last case, the Never Folder trial, the last one you dealt with. What's today? What is today? I'll be trying to smell. What's today? Thursday. Today's Thursday. So you had something this week, some case. Everybody got one? I'll wait. You know how the pastor say, I'll wait till you get to the scripture. Everybody got one? Okay, now, look at it again. Imagine it's your daughter, your son, your mother, your uncle, your cousin, your nephew. How would you handle that case then? Same case? They did what they did. How would you handle it? I could be wrong, but that's where expanding the possibilities lies at. Yes, we need systems. Yes, we need better workflows. Yes, we need feedback loops. Yeah, we need to share information. Yeah, we need to get our silos. Rah, 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 rah. It begins with compassion. It begins with love. It begins with understanding the power and authority that we have been granted in these positions where lives, not numbers, not dockets, not always promotions, hang in the balance. Let's expand the possibilities of how we approach work and the mission. Okay, thank y'all for that. Let's go. Let's see. I'm being respectful of time. Let's see. I want to play with this one. Let's see. Miss Amber, I gave you a nice little break, nice little. All right. I want to talk about the gap between resources and resourcefulness. You smell that? I want to talk about the gap between resources and resourcefulness, because in your bio I read a lot of different agencies that have supported you, and I salute those who salute back as well. However, I don't say that. Oftentimes we can look through an external lens and assume that resources being provided immediately bring ointment to any and all situations. But in fact, there has to be a collaborative effort between the resources that are available and the mastery of utilization of those resources by the recipient in order for true progress to be realized on both ends. So I don't want to take away from it. I also don't want to focus on the agencies. I want you to be able to share how you finagle with a hustler's flair. to use those resources to your advantage?
So there are a lot of resources, but a lot of people, they say, oh, well, I don't know about any. I don't know about, anything that's gonna help me do this or anything that's gonna help me do that. You gotta put in the effort. A lot of people think that when you get out, it's supposed to just be handed to you. It's just gonna, all these opportunities are just gonna fall in your lap. You gotta get out there and you gotta work for it. It's not gonna just happen like that. There are a lot of people that are willing to help you. There are a lot of different, programs that will help you get where you need to be. I think for me, the hardest part was transportation. I think transportation is something that, now don't get me wrong, there are a lot of different, places that will help you get back and forth to work if you work day shift. You work night shift, which is a lot of jobs that you're gonna have to get, like when you first get out. Sometimes you're only gonna be able to work night shift or evening shift, it's hard to, work that out, getting a ride back and forth. So my support system has been great in helping me, providing that for me. Sometimes I gotta walk, but I do it. If I have to do it, I gotta do it. But yeah, I think that's the main thing, is that there are a lot more, programs now than there used to be. I know, probably just over the last 5 to 10 years, I'd say, it's a big difference, like, from when I got out versus like when my stepfather got out of prison.